Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the second meeting of October, two. It's Thursday, October 21st. We'll begin with our traditional moment of silent reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you very much.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know. Okay. Council, under recognized guests, you'll see that Dr. Reed is listed, but he communicated to Andy earlier today that he would not be able to be here this evening. So we will move to B2, and that's Dennis, who has an Upshur County Parks and Recreation Board report. As he promised last meeting, he would have a full report this meeting. So Dennis, you can go ahead and present to us.
Let me get the camera pointed to where I'm going to be. Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Council. The report is for the Upshur County Parks and Recreations Advisory Board for the meeting of 11 October 21. In attendance were Brendan Williams, Dennis P. Cordes, Julie Kastner, Josh Hinchman, Rachel Weber, with non-board members Adam Brumley and Christy Tenney. Absent were J.J. Ford and Mike Donato. After the minutes were read, there was a trail update. A $3,000 donation was made by a private citizen. Also, the Upshur County Trails raised $560 in t-shirt sales. The last public workday for the trail in September had 12 college volunteers helping. The next workday is scheduled for 17 October 2021. That was a few days ago. They will start preparing a new trail segment. Trail volunteer hours for 2021 are 540.5 hours with 38 volunteers so far. 4 individuals have contributed 325 of these hours. The section of progressive drops is currently on hold. The Ferry Gnome Trail will be taken up by 17 October and will be returned in the spring of 2022. Now this next part's not in the minutes. This is a note from me because there was trouble out there last year. This is a note from me. This part is not in the minutes, but still this needs to be said. Please, do not let your children play with the items in the Ferry Gnome Trail. These spots are assigned to individual persons or families. These displays are not toys. They can cost a fair amount of money to display. They are meant for your viewing pleasure only. Back to report. Adam Brumley reported that motorcycles have been seen on the bike and hiking trails. He spoke with one of them and informed that rider that these trails are for non-motorized use only and that law enforcement shall be involved in the future. Disc golf is ready to go with signs added to the tees. A sign with the rules has been installed near the first tee. There is hope that a disc golf tournament will take place here in the spring. Once the Upshur County trail maps are updated, the disc golf course will be added to the map. Tennis court resurfacing quotes are being obtained. Once they are available, they will be taken to the Upshur County Board of Ed. In pool news, the maintenance department is finishing work on the baby pool. Also, there is a possibility that the diving boards will be replaced. The pool will be painted in the spring and the lockers will probably be removed. A new electronic gate is being made for the park area. And lastly, we are looking into automated doorknobs for the bathrooms. The next meeting is scheduled for 8 November 2021 at 5:30 p.m. in the County Commission Building. These meetings are open to the public and respectfully submitted by Dennis P. Cordes.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you.
Hey Dennis, what's a progressive drop?
I have no idea, but it's on the trail, I guess it goes, something like that for the bicycles, you know?
Yeah.
Go, goodbye, that kind of thing, I don't know. I don't know, to me that's progressive, you know?
I had my granddaughter up there and as soon as she saw all those little things on the gnomes or whatever.
The gnome trail, yeah.
You know, 2-year-olds or 3,
Oh, sure.
want to pick them up. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's no signs that say you shouldn't.
Yeah. Anyway,
All right.
that's my best guess is the progressive drop. It just drops. I don't know.
Okay. That's the only person that we had on the agenda wishing to speak. From the sign-in sheet, we have Matt Kerner, who's made a request to speak.
Thank you. In September of 2021, Buckhannon City Council appointed a woman named Sheila Sines to fill the unexpired term of a recently vacated council seat. This happened without even considering anyone else, and with the full knowledge of remaining council members that Sines was well known for posting racist, bigoted, and xenophobic posts on social media, even going so far as to encourage and support calls for violence to be carried out about those who hold views different than hers. When city employee Laura Folks went to a council meeting to question that decision, she was fired from her job the following day. We demanded Sines' resignation, and this is from a petition. There's about 250 local signatures on it, to be honest, without putting a whole lot of effort into it. We demanded Sines resign, and for the members who voted for her to acknowledge that they used poor judgment in how they filled that seat. City ordinances and state code for filling elected municipal positions in the event of a vacancy are extremely vague. So we also demand that the city create an ordinance to address the filling of vacancies that at a minimum contains provisions that include public notice of the vacancy, an opportunity for everyone who is interested to apply, a fair opportunity for everyone interested to be interviewed and considered for appointment. That will ensure that openings are handled uniformly moving forward. We also demand that all elected officials and city employees undergo regular training to ensure cultural competency, including an understanding of poverty, gender issues, race, gender identity, and sexual orientation. And I will leave this with you. I have left the signatures.
So when you use the word "we," that's the 250 people that signed your
Yeah, we
petition?
can go with that. And for those who haven't seen them, I've also in this packet included some screenshots. There's a lot more. Ms. Sines' anti-Muslim post. We weren't sure, I wasn't sure where to put this one, because it's a Colin Kaepernick, but she thinks he's Muslim and not from this country, but he's not. He was born in Wisconsin, raised in California. Here's one, an anti-LGBT post that led to threats of violence against me personally that she supported. And also, you know, I guess family thing, a message from her brother to me threatening violence. There's also a couple here that are some sort of anti-black manifesto. You know, that George Floyd was a dirtball who died while breaking the law, which turned out not to be true. And then another just general diatribe manifesto about other people. Is that a picture? Anyways, that's it. That's all I got. I'll leave this with you.
Thank you.
This whole thing is an embarrassment to the city. I know Randy's put a lot of work into arranging for a band competition in 2023, and I would imagine there's probably gay people in some of those bands. There's probably people of color in those bands. And I gotta wonder how those parents would feel knowing that this is where their kids are coming to. You know, will they be safe here? I don't think we can guarantee that.
Thank you, Matt. Okay. Under department and board reports, we have Public Works Director Jerry Arnold up first.
I don't think I have anything as interesting as progressive drops, so just get that over with right off the bat.
Thought that, yeah, like a sanitary sewer or something,
I'm still working with Brad on raising these structures, there's 5 structures we identified. The Knight's House, of course, is down the back drive-through. We just finished up Cedar Mulch, got a little sweeping over there to do. We did move equipment out, and we'll start on the Upper Drive property first of the week. Street department, we continue to work on North Spring Street, trying to get that in paving schedule this year. We're still holding with our completion date, the second week of November. That's what we projected, and we are trying. If weather continues the way it's been, I think we'll be able to make that paving schedule for this year. And we better. I've already told them it's mine, and the gallows were being built. Sewer department, Crew 1's finished up the drop inlets on North Spring Street, and are helping the street department with remediation of trenches. And Crew 2's installed a couple sewer taps on the Canal Street side. That section of sidewalk that we left out was for a purpose. It wasn't a flower bed.
Thank you.
So that's been completed, and we'll pour that section and be able to energize those street lights on North Canal prior to Christmas. And the maintenance crew replaced the flow meter to landfill, performing routine maintenance plant. At the sewer department, all the tests were within normal range. Water department continued flushing hydrants, and they installed a section of 4-inch water main along the South Canal near Field with Greenhouse. There's been multiple leaks on that old line, so they've replaced that. They have to make the final tie-in, but that line is in place. Their crew went up and knocked that out. Waste, there's nothing new to report. In waste collection and engineering report, Jay's reporting the tentative booster station preliminary layout and upgrade discussions with the test has begun. Gateway West Phase 3, Wheel and Charleston Diocese is wanting to discuss the purchase of the property at the bottom of Amelia Drive to allow for the installation of the pedestrian refuge island. That is something that was required in crossing that length there at the bottom of the hill at the exit to Amelia Drive. There has to be the entrance is too wide for pedestrians to cross safely without having an area in the center that they can stop at and then continue on their way. So there has to be some property acquisition. We were hoping that would be, again, it's a state right-of-way, going to be a state-owned sidewalk, but right now there's the diocese got back with us and they're wanting to sell that piece of property, and there's not been any negotiations yet as to what kind of price and what's going to take place there. So there'll be ongoing conversations with that. From our part, worst case is we can't continue or put that sidewalk across that entrance. It would actually end there on that side. So more to come on that as we continue those discussions. West Virginia Westland Solar Array Project permit drawing's been reviewed and approved. Perimeter fencing's been installed around the property site. The City Hall roof replacement materials have been ordered for the project and are due to arrive at the end of October. Contractor anticipates starting the first week of November and completing the project within 2 weeks. There's a development, Vicksburg utility development. The developers made the water and sanitary sewer line extension deposits and are going to to develop 4 lots out of 17 at this time. The 2-inch water line will be installed prior to the sanitary sewer lines, as the question as to who owns the 2 streets near the development must be resolved prior to the installation of sanitary sewer. And introduced Test and Associate, the engineers in the Mills Group, the architectural sub-consultants to the Gibson Library and Stockford Youth Center to begin the discussion on the projects that they have selected. And that's all I have, Mayor, as a formal report, unless there are questions.
Any questions from council for Jerry?
Everything was finished up with the sanitary department on Canal Street.
And the taps are installed, yes. There'll have to be remediation of the street, which again, I'm projecting that paving will take place next spring.
Okay.
Or summer. I'm not going to put us on the line for first of spring. I don't want to throw that up, but spring, summer paving.
Still planning to get both sides of the sidewalk finished on Canal Street before winter or this season?
Not Canal Street. Canal Street will continue to work on the west side as weather permits, but throughout the winter season.
Okay.
We want to complete those sidewalks, and we found, again, there's a real good place to end our pavement down where it makes the corner on Willard Way. There's a slot drain there. So remember I was talking about I didn't want a cold seam in our pavement if we could keep from it. So we can end the pavement at that slot drain and allow us to finish the sidewalks on Canal Street and then come back and pave Canal Street.
Yeah, but I mean, you're going to go down Canal Street, the side you're on now, then come back up that side, the other side.
Yes, Canal Street, the side, the eastern side of Canal, North Canal Street, is completed except for that little piece where they had to make the sewer taps by Bryson's building.
Right.
So we will complete that section in the next couple of weeks. Then we can energize that string of lights that we put up. There's kind of a rhyme to the madness there because, again, we've been trying to get better lighting on that corner down there because Community Care has a parking lot there and their employees have to walk up to the building there at Main Street. So that's kind of a dark walk. So we've been trying to get more lighting there. So we went ahead and installed those 4 light posts on that side and we'll energize those once that sidewalk's finished. We'll come around, finish Spring Street up, get the paving in. Then Willard Way will actually set, we'll have a saw cut on the paving and set and bore those sidewalks all around Willard Way. Then come back up Canal Street. We'll be coming from the depot area back up to Main Street as weather permits throughout the winter. And hopefully we have enough good weather in the winter. You know, we have blankets to cover our concrete with for yours, but we'll have enough good weather in winter until we can complete that project by spring, pave that street, move the South Canal, finish that up, and be out of there by midsummer.
And you're able to...
It's pretty aggressive, but that's the way I like to operate.
And even in the winter, you're able to pour and keep businesses open while you're pouring?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
That's what I told.
Yes, we will not hamstring the businesses. We'll build temporary walks or whatever we have to do to keep them in business.
Right. Right. I just wanted to reassure a couple of businesses on the street there that we're asking. So.
Yeah, I talked to one of them. I think that someone had mentioned to me that, and they were out one day out of town.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, no, we will make sure that you stay open. We have to build you a temporary sidewalk.
That street was good. That street proper.
Thank you. There was a lot of concrete there.
Yeah.
There's still a lot.
There was a lot there that was underground too.
Is there something else?
Was that? Is it?
Trying to figure out my watch, I'm sorry.
Voice sure changed there from me.
Yeah.
Anything else for Jerry? Okay. Thank you, sir. Finance Director, Amy Jenkins.
And in your package, you'll see my very, very short report. Balance for Enterprise Fund, September 30th, 2021, Waste Collection Board, and their money market and checking, $930,222, and the CD and savings of $58,536. Water board money market and checking, $351,433. Their working capital right now is at $871,816, and we just put, that includes $255,800 that we put into that fund for the working capital. There's requirements to keep a reserve in the 2 utility accounts, water and sanitary, and that's part of it. Sanitary board money market and checking, $561,404, and their working capital is $457,76. The stormwater fund money market is $95,993. Just note that general fund has not expensed any of its share of the budget. $150,000 is due to the stormwater fund from this budget, and we of course will get ready to put $75,000 in now and another $75,000 in. So that fund will continue to increase. I'll tell you another big news. Sales tax third quarter receipt was $476,897. In your package, you're going to see an email I received from the state regarding the ARP funds. An additional $1,894 will be sent to us. They've distributed funds to other non-entitlement units. There are some communities that actually did not take the ARP money or did not respond, so they are allocating those funds to someone else. Any other ones who did respond.
We'll take them.
We'll take them. We'll use them. In your bills, one's worth noting, the bills to be approved, iWork software for housing enforcement and streets, and we want to thank you for that. It's $3,775, but it is already being very useful. It's streamlining and organizing our code enforcement much better than we could with the Excel sheets and sticky notes. Tyler Technologies software, $1,924. And we transferred $100,000 into the municipal stabilization fund. Council wanted me to do that, and we got that finally transferred. And we transferred the $70,000 to the flood control project that council also approved. Central Supply Concrete for Spring Street, $1,767. And Stop Sticks, I'm sure that's for the police department, $1,395. That's all. Oh, Buck Samples, I wanted to let everybody know that Buck Samples was a 43-year employee with the city of Buckhannon, and he retired today. We want to congratulate him on that. Thank you for his service to the city.
Today was his actual official last day.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. Last meeting, last day. What'd you say, Dave?
Who was that?
Buck Samples.
Okay.
That's it.
Any questions or comments for Andy? Okay. Chief, you got shorter again.
See, down might come in small packages.
So Buckhannon Upshur Soccer is in the sectional game tonight with Bridgeport in Bridgeport. So Matt's son is on the team, and we're hoping for a Buccaneer victory. So that's where Matt is. So is even better. Doug is here. So
I don't know if I'd go that far.
he's not here to defend himself. So.
So my report's going to be pretty brief, but today we received a letter of resignation from Patrolman Kramer. He's resigning his position with the Buckhannon Police Department and has accepted a position with the Parchburg PD effective November 1st, 2021. On November 8th, Sergeant Courtney will undergo annual certification for K9 Harris. This certification will occur at Shallow Creek Kennels in Pennsylvania. Patrolman Garrison is on his final phase of FTO training. He's expected to begin working on his own at the end of October. The police department will partner with the Family Resource Network for a drive-through trunk or treat event at Buckhannon Upshur High School on October 28th.
So, did he get a raise to go to Clarksburg?
Somewhat, not a lot, but he will make a little bit more money.
Thank you.
What do we assign the,
Right.
What do-
I believe it is.
It's on the back of that. It's just right on the back.
Right. His letter of resignation's in the packet. So,
Yeah.
and I believe he explains in there, his motivation for leaving.
Well, that's a benefit to them that they don't have to train them, right?
Right.
What cost do we assign to training an officer?
It's 2,500 to go to the academy, right?
Yeah, but then you have all the
All the
time involved
equipment.
with training.
Significant.
Yes.
Any other questions?
We're used to hiring them, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the case, and with this climate and across the country, that's just one other struggle we struggle with, as well as other departments nationwide. So,
Do you do exit interviews with folks that are leaving?
no, we usually just take their letter of resignation, present it.
Might be helpful to get a third party outside the department to just interview them and try to get, what their intentions were, what they're basing their decision on, or what recommendations they would have for the force, that they're leaving. It doesn't hurt, right?
Right. But, a lot of the individuals that resign to go further on, they typically have an internal struggle they struggle with in making their decision. And so we try not to, further embarrass them with their struggles. So that's why we typically didn't do the exit interviews.
So when they transfer, they start over with civil service, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
CJ, we've talked about exit interviews before too. I think that's a good idea that we should continue to take a look at.
Any other questions or comments for Lieutenant Loudon? Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Okay, City Attorney Tom O'Neill mentioned that he did have a brief report before we got down into strategic issues. So, Tom, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that. Just in addition to the matter that's on strategic, I've been working on the process of developing at the mayor's request certain policies for the city, and I just wanted to kind of put a general invitation out to council. If you'd like to weigh in as these things are being developed and the drafts are being prepared, I welcome members of council to reach out and weigh in as these drafts are being developed, specifically policies related to the appropriation of city funds to outside organizations and events, policies regarding the selection and the development of holiday decorations, facade grants, and interestingly, given this most recent conversation, employee onboarding and exiting procedures. Those are a few things in addition to the review of residency requirements on boards that I've got kind of percolating right now, and over the coming days and weeks, if any members of council or any other department heads want to weigh in on what those drafts look like, I welcome that participation. I just wanted to kind of make that point.
Thank you, Tom. Okay. Under correspondence and information, we have a thank you letter from Create Buckhannon, budget allocation of $5,000 for financial support. We have a proclamation for Red Ribbon Week, October 25th through 29th. I presented that this morning to school counselors and administrators from Upshur County Schools here at council chambers with Mr. Recorder Sanders. the West Virginia Department of Arts, Culture, and History Colonial Theater Basement and ADA Improvement Grant Project final report, and notice a special session of City Council for probationary firefighter interviews. That will be October 25th at 9:30 a.m. About 30 minutes per firefighter. We will be interviewing 3. Under the consent agenda, right, we have the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting for the 16th of September, the approval of the building and wiring permits, and the approval of payment of bills. I'd entertain a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented, understanding that the 10:07:21 minutes are not included.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Rowlands, we have a second by Mrs. Sines. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries. Okay, we are down to strategic issues for discussion and or vote. We bring Mr. O'Neill back for F1. And we took this up on first reading last council meeting. This is ordinance 453, and it discusses the residency requirements for municipal court judge for the city of Buckhannon. Tom, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll read the ordinance by caption, taking questions, and then we'll leave it there. This is ordinance number 453 of the city of Buckhannon, and amending ordinance number 242 of the city of Buckhannon, providing for the residency requirements of the judge of the city of Buckhannon Municipal Court and making certain stylistic changes. This is the second of 2 readings. Again, this changes our existing municipal court enabling ordinance to permit the judge to be a resident anywhere within Upshur County instead of just within the city. The city is permitted to make this change under state law. All other provisions of that enabling ordinance number 242 will remain in full force and effect. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions or comments for Tom O'Neill? Hearing none, we passed this, I believe, unanimously on first reading, so I will call for the question to accept ordinance 453. This is the second and final reading. If it passes this evening, in 30 days, it will take effect. Do I hear a motion to accept ordinance 453 as presented?
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Sanders. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rigger. Any discussion? Hearing the need for none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries. Thanks, Tom.
My pleasure. Not with the gavel. All right.
Yeah. It's the hammer.
The hammer, that's right. We have an event request. This is F2. Typically, you'll note that these go to Consolidated Public Works, but because of the time frame that we're dealing with, Consolidated Public Works will take up after this event is to happen. So Buckhannon Academy Elementary School has submitted an event request for a storybook character parade, and this will be on the 28th. They're requesting a street closure from College Avenue from Florida to Canal. So that would be from the corner where the school is at McDonald's to Florida Street toward Westland. Do we have a time frame as to how long that's start time? 2:05 to 2:25. Okay, that's okay. 20 minutes. I believe we've granted these kind of requests before. I would entertain a motion that we accept the request.
Second.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by CJ. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries. Okay. F3, approval to accept bid opening results, construction utility vehicle for street department.
Yes, sir. This is an easy one.
Popped up like a piece of toast.
As you remember, I asked to bid this out, and actually we were looking to do a piece of equipment that we could use our implements from our skid steer on. Well, in the research I did and developing specs for this, I learned that that singular piece of equipment was, mainly we use this to plow snow and as a vehicle between job sites sometimes. And anyhow, that piece of equipment that I was originally intending to purchase, I did an online build and it was about $65,000, and I just could not justify a small utility vehicle, even though it could use the implements from our skid steer on. So long story short, downgraded that. I could actually get two pieces of equipment for less than that to do two different jobs. So we need right now this UTV to plow the sidewalks this winter. And we were buying gasoline-powered Kawasaki mules is what we've been using in the past. This is a diesel-powered unit that has a hydraulic pump bed on it. We had a bid, and I sent this out to 3 different vendors, and it was published in the newspaper. But we had a bid from State Equipment, the Kubota dealer here in Buckhannon, for $18,032 for that UTV. And it, again, I've reviewed the spec. It meets specifications. So council's pleasure. My recommendation would be to accept this bid.
Okay. Is there a motion on the table to accept the recommendation by our Public Works Director? We have a motion by Mrs. Sines. We have a second by Mr. Rigger. Is there any discussion? Hearing the need for none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Like sign opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, on F4, relative to the Gibson Library, the Gibson Library, we have a vacancy on that board, and it was from Martha, I think, was the last resignation we had, Martha Edgell. The board would they recommend to appoint Kelly Tierney to that board. Teresa and I looked earlier this week, and to make sure, because Kelly currently sits on our planning commission, and some of these commissions you can't serve on more than one. And I think Kelly is a great asset to our planning commission, and I didn't want to have to see us have to upheaval the planning commission with that. So Kelly can serve on both, and so I'm inclined to accept or to recommend that we accept the library's recommendation to appoint Kelly Tierney to the vacated seat of Martha Edgell. Is there any discussion on that?
Does she want the cable one?
Lord, I'll tell you, the cable one, I mean, everybody you ask, it's like, so
I'll make a motion to have Kelly be on board.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Thomas. We have a second by Mr. Rylands. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries. And as Mrs. Sines just alluded, we still don't have, but we that board doesn't meet regularly. It only meets as needed, and right now it's not. We're not dealing with any major issues other than the typical facilitating some complaints with Sudden Link here and there. But we have a regional contact that we filter those to, and she helps get those taken care of. So I don't have anybody for cable at this time. Finally, F5, this is a carryover from the previous meeting. We had a discussion about the Colonial Arts Center staffing memorandum of understanding. There were a couple questions about the city with the Board of Education and the relationship there. So we're back on the agenda tonight with a recommendation that we accept this memorandum of understanding. I know that Mr. O'Neill and Mr. Sanders and Mrs. Sines have worked on this to kind of clear up some confusion in the language. And either of you three who want to take this and begin the discussion is welcome to. So the ball is on the tee.
Well, the draft that the council has before it represents one small change in paragraph 2. Instead of it reading, "The city will employ an individual to fill the position of managing director," it reads now, "The city is responsible for employing an individual to fill the position of managing director." That softens the language a little bit. It doesn't carry the determinative tense of the word "will hire." It also does not bind the city to act within any particular time frame. And I believe that, and I don't want to speak for the members of council that consulted on this, but I think this alleviates the concerns that were expressed at the last meeting.
I move we accept the memorandum of understanding from the Upshur County Board of Education.
All right, and that includes what Tom just discussed as the
current iteration that is in our booklet here.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Rylance. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second by Mr. Sand. We'll give it to Mr. Thomas.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Hearing the need for none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for the discussion on that. And Sheila, thank you for helping to clarify the language there. I think we're headed in the right direction. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are down to comments and announcements. Hey, I do want to remind you, we do have an executive session listed here for property matters. We've got some things I want to bring you up to speed on and have a discussion. There will be notice for the media's benefit. There will be no decisions made this evening. So this has just been an ongoing discussion, but we need to continue to have ongoing discussions about this particular piece of property. So we are down to comments and announcements. Mrs. Bucklew is not with us this evening, so we'll begin with Mr. Rylance.
I recently attended a meeting with the new Parks and Recreation Director for Upshur County, and I think Upshur County has one park, basically the one around the high school, but I think the main focus is the swimming pool and the management of that. And I know we've had discussions about the Parks and Rec directors in the past, and I think we have 6 parks, is that correct? And we're basically operated under the street department?
Yes.
Currently. Maybe we begin conversations around possibly getting a Parks and Rec director. And in that light, I also came across CAPRA accreditation, which is accreditation for Parks and Recreation entities. And there are currently no accredited entities in the state of West Virginia, which it's challenging as a policymaker to, when I'm not an expert in policing, say, how do they align themselves with best practices? And I think the accreditation process in the police department has shown us that has a great capacity to lead us in the right direction. And so just those 2 things, to talk about what this would look like and what their responsibilities would be, and that there is an accreditation board out there that can help guide this process and kind of task this person to do. So that's all I have.
Thanks, CJ. Dave Thomas?
Couple comments. I have some comments that I'll share with Matt Turner privately. I did want to say that my understanding of Lori Faust was not fired, and I think that should be responded to. But I also think what CJ was bringing up in regard to Parks and Recreation, but I'd like the rest of the council to give some serious, I know they probably have on their own, serious thought that with the sales tax that we have, as Andy indicated, $476,000 for the previous quarter, you know, the next 10 years, we're going to have probably between $18 and $22 million that we did not have a couple years ago. And I think we need to have a process where we involve the residents of the community to think about, you know, what would they like to see with that kind of resources for the future. Obviously, I think we ought to consider some town hall meetings. We got a planning process also, but that's a lot of money. And there's some really phenomenal things that could be on the agenda for the future. But at the same time, we don't want to just go out there and say, hey, we got all this money, let's spend it. And so I think we have to be very careful how we do that. I think that's important to think about. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Jack?
It's good to be out of the house. I was tempted to do a delay just for the mayor, so he'd film.
I'm used to it. The phone's always right here. I just point to it.
That's why I'm home, Jack.
Oh, okay. You're proxy tonight, then, right?
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, it's good to be here. It's good to see everyone. So.
Likewise.
Thanks, Jack. It's good to see you, too.
Glad you're feeling better, Jack. That's great.
Thank you, sir.
Sheila?
I was going to say, it's wonderful to have Jack here and getting better, and that's a wonderful thing. And David, some things aren't worth commenting on, so don't you worry. And I love this town. That's it.
Thanks, Sheila. Randy?
I'll pick up with what CJ mentioned. I had promised the Planning Commission that I would bring up the idea of a Parks and Recreation Director, a discussion towards the city exploring the idea of a Parks and Recreation Director. So that's something that I think we should start looking into. I like the idea of the accreditation program that CJ had mentioned as well. We do have some great assets in the city, the 6 parks. Jerry is director of all of the departments, but I know that he keeps a close eye on what the street department does, and that department's busy. That department gets a lot of requests on a daily basis, and they have a lot of projects going on, and they have a lot of responsibility to keep this town looking as good as it does and keep it going. So I think if you can get some help for Brad in the street department with the parks, I don't think he would hesitate in joining forces with that whatsoever. I think our citizens would enjoy it too. But back to the Planning Commission, they did have a nice discussion about it at our last meeting this past week, and taking those assets that we have with those 6 parks and taking them to a different level, taking them to the next level, making them even more family friendly, and getting them to a place where there was more activity going on, where the families can enjoy the parks on a more regular basis, particularly during the peak seasons and even in the in the off seasons and so forth. So CJ, I join you in that. So we'll move forward in that direction. Hopefully we can get some progress in that area. So that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. My only comment this evening is echo what Andy said. We celebrated Buck Samples' retirement today. We presented him the sanitary board with a nice clock with his name on it. I want to thank Andy for that. And we are this is a wonderful organization clearly to work for. This is an organization of tremendous longevity. When folks come to work here, they, in many, many cases, do not leave. We've had folks work here for generations, and then, and then the minute that they retire, there's people looking to come in and fill their shoes because they know they're gonna have a nice long career advancing through our system, through the ranks with the city of Buckhannon's systems. So I think it speaks volumes to how good of an organization that we have, and how good we are to our citizens and taking care of all the services that we're here to provide. So congratulations to Buck. Thanks for the 43 years with the city, and we hope that he enjoys his retirement.
If I could add to that, I've known Buck way before the 43-year deal started, and he's a great guy. And when I first was appointed the recorder, he was one of the first employees to reach out and welcome me to the city. What aggravates me is I found out today Buck is actually younger than me. He's retiring. You know, so good wishes to Buck. I am, but good wishes to Buck. He's a great guy.
How old are you?
Too old, 60, too old.
I'm on camera.
I meant to put him on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, if you disclose him, you've got him and you've got him. We're surrounded by him. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, at 7:51, I entertain a motion that we adjourn with about a 5-minute break to let folks get out of here before we convene into our executive session. We have a motion by Mr. Thomas for that. Thank you very much.